Okay, question 2E4. I'm going to read this in its entirety here. The Bayesian statistician Bruno de Finetti began his 1973 book on probability theory with the declaration, "Probability does not exist." The capitals appeared in the original, so I imagine de Finetti wanted us to shout this statement. What he meant is that probability is a device for describing uncertainty from the perspective of an observer with limited knowledge. It has no objective reality. And so I'm just going to underline some of that. Discuss the globe tossing example from the chapter in light of this statement. What does it mean to say the probability of water is 70%? Okay, so if you're not familiar with what the globe tossing example was, the idea was that you and some other people had a little globe that you were tossing back and forth, and the globe has some amount of water on it, and it has some amount of land on it, and by tossing that globe, the person who catches it is going to have their index finger land somewhere. So there's my index finger, and over repeated tosses, we would take a tally of how often the index finger of the person who catches it lands on water versus land, and we would keep this tally, and from that tally we would try to estimate what the probability of water was. And in this example, we say that, or we find from our repeated experiments here, our repeated tosses, that 70% of the globe was, or our estimate is that 70% of the globe is tossed or is covered in water. And so then that means that, or this is where the idea of the probability of water is 70%. In other words, the probability of my index finger landing on water is 70%. So what do we mean when we say that the probability of water is 70%? It's often when we talk about probability or randomness, we might think that like in the case of the globe tossing example, is that it is a completely random or stochastic process when the ball is thrown to when it is caught, that there's no way to, in principle, there's no way to predict where our finger is going to land. But of course, when we're tossing the globe, it is just following the laws of motion. In other words, where my finger lands is actually completely deterministic. If I understood how the globe was tossed, how it's going to move in the air, how my hands are going to try to adapt to catch it, all of those are in principle knowable. It's just that we don't know. And because we don't know, we can't give an exact answer. And so when we can't give an exact answer, when we have limited information or limited knowledge, one of the tools, or the tool that we default to, is describing the possibility of something in terms of a probability. And the fact that we are saying that we know nothing about the dynamics of the ball moving through air, but that we previously discovered or estimated water to be 70% of the globe, then without any other information, my best guess, my best estimate of the probability of my finger landing on water is that 70%.